Donald Trump is continuing his media tour meanwhile, and he somehow ended up on the Stuart Varney show on the Fox Business channel. Fox Business is like the lower rated counterpart to Fox News. Stuart Varney is, I won't even say much about him. Stuart Varney is a guy who in this interview allows Donald Trump to just say whatever the hell he wants, even obvious lies, and get away with it with no pushback. And Stuart Varney, he loves bringing on Richard Wolff, economist Richard Wolff, friend of our show, my former professor. Varney will bring on Richard Wolff and argue with him. If Wolff says the sky is blue, Stuart Varney's going to argue with him. And Trump comes in and he talks about ballot dumps from Mark Zuckerberg. He talks about how he won the election. And here is a brilliant idea from Trump during this interview. You want to stop cyber attacks, Stuart? Stop using computers. Hell, Trump has no idea how to use one. Do we even really need computers? This is the suggestion of the former president. Take a look.
Well, that's here to stay, according to the Commerce Secretary. How do we stop it? I mean, the Commerce Secretary says, well, the companies should take action.
Go back to a much more old-fashioned form of accounting and things. I have a son who's so good with computers. He's a young person, and he can make these things sing. And when you put everything on internet and on all of these machines, you never see a piece of paper. I really think you have to go back to a different form of accounting, a different form of compiling information, because anybody can break in. I see young people, they can't walk without computers. That what they can do with them is incredible. I'm witness to it because as a young person, my 15-year-old son is, he's just a genius with this stuff. And you have people that are going to break into systems. I think you have to go back and you have to be much more reliant. There has to be much better security. And the kind of information they're getting is mind-boggling.
He simply can't avoid mentioning that Barron knows how to use computers anytime he talks about cyber attacks. Trump is such a Luddite when it comes to computers that he's always, if computers are mentioned, you should see what my 15-year-old son is doing with them. But listen to the suggestion. How do you deal with cyber threats? Just get everything off the internet. Stop using computers. He sounds like an out-of-touch old guy who just refuses to accept modern technology. It's stunning. And Stuart Varney just accepts it. He says, well, that could take some time. But he's basically accepting it. How is that a solution anybody could take seriously even for a second? Then Trump moves on to pushing the completely baseless conspiracy theory that U.S. COVID cases and deaths were falsely overcounted to make him look bad. We're going back to May of 2020, my friends. The truth is the opposite. Cases and deaths are undercounted, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But here is Trump, Stuart Varney, like a doormat. He offers no pushback whatsoever.
We are in a position, a lot of people that have had COVID, and, I think you had reported numbers far greater than the actual numbers. A person that I know just told me his father died. I said, oh, that's too bad. What happened? It was a heart attack. But they put down COVID. I said, what do you mean it was hard? Did he have COVID? No, he didn't have COVID. They put down COVID. So many deaths are reported. This whole thing is, whether it was election fraud or other frauds. But, there are many, many more cases than if you take a look, and I'm sure you've heard this. You're a professional, to put it mildly. But this was just an interesting conversation I had with somebody that I barely know. And they said it was COVID. But I've heard that many times before, many, many times before.
Is it over in America now?
So there it is. Somebody Trump barely knows mentioned this to him. How many times has this been debunked? This goes back to May of 2020. We are undercounting COVID cases and deaths. First of all, before testing was ramped up, there were tons of cases. My girlfriend and I think we may have had this when we were in Europe very, very early in 2020. There was no testing. So there are likely hundreds of thousands, if not millions of cases that were never captured because there wasn't enough testing at one point in time. Then asymptomatic cases. There were tons of asymptomatic cases, which still could have been transmitting. People never thought to go and get a test. There were lots of people who had cold-like or flu-like symptoms and just didn't feel sick enough to even go and get treatment or seek medical advice. They were never tested. The real number of COVID cases in the US is likely 2 to 3 times the official rate. And then as far as deaths go, there were many deaths we know, particularly early on. No autopsies were done. There was no posthumous COVID testing. There were people who died at home who were never tested. So the real numbers are much higher than the official numbers, not lower. But Varney doesn't care. He's going to let Trump say whatever he wants. And then now here is the really big lie that Donald Trump won in 2020. No pushback from Stuart Varney. And Trump raises stuff now about lockboxes with dumps, ballot dumps, that is. Trump's a weird guy, but he meant ballot dumps, controlled by Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook. I mean, it's all crazy. Take a look at this.
Powerful. I got 75 million votes, which is more than any sitting president ever got. I won the election, but they cheated. And by the way, Facebook and Zuckerberg, with the $500 million worth of phony lockboxes that he put on, some of them had 96% Biden votes in them, 96%. They were like just dumping ballots. It was a phony deal.
So that's new to me. I hadn't heard that before. Phony Zuckerberg, Facebook lockboxes with ballot dumps inside of them. It's something else. And it's just out of this world, disconnected from reality. And Varney just watches it all. He has nothing to say about it. At some point, it would be amazing if one of these Fox hosts or Newsmax or whoever, if they had the guts to simply say, Mr. President, sir, you will not stop spreading corrosive lies. You incited the January 6th riots. You seem desperate to do it again. Not on my show, Mr. President. What would happen if a Fox reporter did that? They'd probably be fired, but wouldn't it be worth it? It would be seen as heroic, not just by much of the United States, but by most of the world. It would go giga-viral instantly. It would, if someone really let Trump have it during one of these interviews. Instead, Stuart Varney is like a clock on the wall, just silent. He's like a doormat. Trump's walking all over him. I get it. Varney has producers. He wants his job. He was told, do the interview in this way. Okay, I'm not saying that this was exactly the right moment, and I'm not saying that there wouldn't have been consequences. But if someone like Varney had the guts to just do it, say, Mr. President, this ends today. You will stop spreading these corrosive lies that led to that violent insurrection. You lost and you can't admit it. If it were actually live and you know that it would get out there, that would really be something else. I encourage any one of these reporters to think about it. Think about what you're doing for your legacy by allowing Trump to do what he did to Stuart Varney versus what you could actually do if you stand up to him and have the guts to do it. Just a thought. Just a thought. Make sure you're subscribed to our new YouTube channel. We have a completely separate YouTube channel, Pakman Live. You can find it at davidpakman.com/Pakman Live. Clips from the live streams. If you don't often catch the live streams, we're taking the best pieces, the best elements of the live streams, and putting them on the second YouTube channel. We are heading towards our first 5,000 subscribers, and you can find it at davidpakman.com/Pakman Live. And for more on the Varney interview, make sure you're following us on Instagram. David Pakman Show, all one word, on Instagram. We'll take a quick break. I will be speaking with Professor Olivier Sibony coming up next. A very interesting conversation, I'm sure, and then much more after that. If you've been watching the show, you've probably heard me talk about how much I love my Helix mattress. Well, I was really excited to hear that Helix has launched a new company called Allform, which makes premium, customizable sofas and chairs with the same level of quality and comfort that I expect from these guys. And Allform is one of our sponsors today. They're giving you 20% off at allform.com/Pakman. They actually sent me a couch, which I put in my living room at home. It's now my favorite piece of furniture in the house. It took me just minutes to set it up. It's solidly built. It's huge. It's roomy. It has a modern, minimalist design, which I love, but it's also very comfortable. Fabric is soft, clearly very high quality. It has become the focal point of my living room. Their prices are very reasonable. And when you get a new sofa or chair, you get 100 days to decide if you want to keep it. And the best part is everything comes with a lifetime warranty. Stop buying poorly made furniture. Go to customize your own Allform sofa or chair right now and get 20% off your entire order when you get there by going to allform.com/Pakman. I've also put the link right underneath this video.